All right. Thank you all for sharing wins, challenges. If you have some additional ones that you want to share, keep putting those in the chat. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to start off with a scenario that might be familiar to many of you. So some of you are professionals, individual contributors. Some of you might be leaders leading teams. Some of you might be business owners, and you're very good what you do. You're consistently meeting goals. You're providing quality work. You are leading your team effectively. You're getting positive feedback from others. And let's say that you had that career win. You got that new gig, you got that new customer, you hired that new amazing employee for the team. And so you say, okay, what's my next step? I'd like to apply for that promotion within my organization, or perhaps there's a role outside in another organization that you're interested in going for, or you're looking to pitch a brand new client and you're feeling confident because you just had this big career win. So you think, I am very confident that I am a strong candidate for this role, for this client. And then you get the email or you get the call or you don't hear anything at all. And they've decided to go with another candidate or they've decided to choose another vendor to use. It's a frustrating experience. You're thinking to yourself, how am I going to handle this situation? Frustrated that you've worked really hard, that you don't feel like the results that you've produced, the quality of work that you've produced is really getting the reward that you were hoping for. You're not getting the return on investment that you've put towards your performance. It can feel you can be close to the point of burnout when these types of situations happen. Taking time to process the emotions that you're going through is really important. And then it's time to move to action because, however disappointing these situations are, and I'm sure we've all experienced it, I actually saw some head nods as I was sharing. It's also an opportunity to learn and grow and focus on the parts of our career that we can influence and that we can control. And that's why having a helpful framework like the one I'm going to talk about today can come in handy. I'm also going to share some specific strategies aligned with this framework. I am very big on practical action. I want you to walk away with a list of things that you can do to help boost, level up your career. And that's where that action plan comes into play. Now, I had sent out an email with the handout that you're welcome to use. I don't know if you printed it out or if you want to pull it up on your computer. Let me know if you do not have that, and I can post that in the chat for you. And something else that I'll say is I have these slides, I have a structure to our conversation, and I want to make sure that this is valuable to you. So if you have questions along the way, if you have comments, post them in the chat, interrupt me and ask them out loud as well, because I want to make sure that you're getting something out of this. And for those that don't know me, my name's Jen Rekla. I have worked in the leadership field for almost 15 years. I've been in the learning and organizational development space for the last 12, 13 years. I'm currently in the leadership development space, coaching, training, and speaking with my own practice. And this framework that I'm going to share with you, I've used it in my corporate role and I've used it today with my business as well. So it's something that translates really well no matter what your role is. So that's the formal side of me. This is more of the informal side of me. My top two values are fun and adventure. I am very much into the outdoors. One of the reasons why we moved to Colorado was to be outside as much as possible. I get two little munchkins. One of them just turned 10, the other little one is 7. And I very much believe in a strengths-based philosophy to work, to life. Try not to take myself too seriously. And if you come and visit me in my home, you will see giraffes absolutely everywhere. I've been collecting them since I was 7 years old. So I'm really excited to share insights and strategies with you today. And I want to come back to these wins and challenges that you shared. Thank you all for posting those. I had read through some of them already, just sharing a new gig that we got, heading up a new division. Someone else had mentioned hiring a new analyst, getting some more structure going, having an effective customer interaction. Um, see, what are some of the others? Getting promoted, yay. So I love hearing all of these career wins. Landed a gig today, awesome. And then some of the challenges that I'm hearing, proving that while I'm selling, it's really about helping other people. It's not just a sale. Um, Changing your mindset, deciding what field and impact I want to focus on is another challenge. Feeling burnt out, wanting to change industries, absolutely managing tough customers. So, the reason why I started with this exercise, one, is identifying a challenge at the beginning can help you hone in on the strategy that may help you the most. I'm going to offer a menu of different action that you can take with this framework. And I don't recommend that you implement it all. It can be overwhelming, but if you have your challenge in mind, it can help you zone in on what action you want to take next. The reason that I wanted to start off with the career wins is we need to celebrate our wins more and let people know about them. That's part of what I'm going to talk about more today. You can be the best performer, deliver the best results out there. But if no one knows about your accomplishments, if no one knows about the impact and the results that you're delivering, it's going to make it a lot harder to elevate in your career. And I think for women in particular, it's really hard to shout out our accomplishments. It feels like bragging. I don't know if anyone has had that experience with sharing accomplishments, but I've even seen people post on social media. I don't love bragging, but I hate sharing this accomplishment or this information. But so part of this is really giving you space to celebrate and then for people to celebrate each other as well, because that's how you get more visible. So the concept that I'm going to share with you, the PI framework, the acronym, it comes from this book by Harvey Coleman, and this is not a new book. So this is mid 90s that this came out. And I don't necessarily recommend that you go out and read the book. I actually think there's a lot more relevant books that would be helpful right now. Likeable Badass. I don't know if anyone has read that yet, but that's a book that is new and I highly recommend. What I do like from this book is the framework that he talks about, this concept of performance, image, and exposure, and these three key elements being the factors that contribute the most to our career success. So that's what I'm going to talk about today is that PI framework. And in his book, he talks about a certain percentage of these three elements being attributed to our career success. So I'd love to hear guesses. Performance. What percentage do you think that attributes to career success? You can shout it out loud or you can plop it in the chat.
Right, 50%.
50%? Okay. Any other guesses?
I was going to say 40.
40%, 35%. Okay. 25%. How about image or your personal brand? What percentage do you think that attributes to career success? 70%, Kristen? 50%? 40? Yeah,
40.
great guesses. So then exposure or visibility. What percentage would you guess that that attributes? 60? Anyone else other guesses? 70,
Does this also
25.
include like somebody else endorsing you, like being the sponsor of you?
It could be. There's strategies certainly to create more sponsors in your life. People that are going to talk about you when you're not quote unquote in the room.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of it. 80, 25. Okay, so quite a mixture of guesses. This is the breakdown.
I
10%
almost changed
performance.
the performance to 10. I was wondering, it's
Yeah.
probably not as big. Wow.
Yeah. But when you think about it, it makes so much sense. Not that performance is not important, but performance alone, typically the only people that will see that, if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not really working on your brand, your boss, your direct client, if you have your own business, maybe the coworker, the teammate that you're working with, and that's about it. For you to get that promotion, someone else also needs to vouch for you. to see the talent that you have. So again, it doesn't mean that performance isn't important. It's just, it's not the thing that's going to get you out there. It's not the thing that's going to get you in front of people. Being in front of people, that's why exposure is so big, 60%. And one thing that, one caveat that I'll put out there as well is not getting too caught up in the percentages. I think it's helpful to see this, but the big idea is we need to be spending more time on visibility and our personal brand. And when we see this, we usually realize that we're probably not spending as much time as we would like to. Any questions about this breakdown before I start talking about each one? Okay, so performance. We want to perform exceptionally well. This is important, right? Your performance, this is your quality of work, it's your accuracy. This includes all the day-to-day tasks, the your contributions, the quality of your results, your achievements, your accomplishments. It is the foundation for growth, the foundation for promotion. It's very, very important. Building your performance, it enhances your reputation. It really starts your legacy. So it's something that we do need to focus on and asking yourselves some questions to check in on where you're at with performance can be really helpful. So one of those questions is, how are you building skills? Not just for the role that you have today or where your business is today, for the role that you want, that next role you want, or that next career that you want, or that next client you want? What are the future skills that you need too? And are you clear on what great performance looks like for your role, for the organization? This one's really important. What does the client value? The organization that you're working at, what do they value? What's important to them? I haven't always asked that question. And I remember working at an organization and we put together all of this data to share all the results that we were doing and found out that they didn't really care. No one really no one really cared about the results that we were producing. We were focused on the wrong things. They didn't value that as much as they valued other things. So that's an important question that if we're not asking now, we should be asking. And then how are you measuring success? How do you know that you've reached your goals? How do you know that you're improving? How do you know that you're getting better? So what are you currently doing to measure success? And if you're not, what could you do? How are you measuring team success? I talk about this more in an individual capacity, but this works when you think about team dynamics as well. You can use this same model. You can think about how are we measuring success as a team? How are others measuring success? Are there certain metrics that they're using that you could tap into or that would be important for you to highlight? So those are some really important questions to ask yourself. Now, what are some things that you're currently doing to help elevate your performance? You can go ahead and share out loud or you can share in the chat. What are some strategies that you're using?
I know for my team, we share like pictures of customer events or big events, big customer meetings that we've accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my colleagues does a storyboard, and it's really cool to like have all the different pictures and how it made an impact on the customer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's such an important way of making things visible, pairing your performance with a way to get it in front of people, tracking specific key performance indicators. Absolutely. So, professional development, learning AI in your personal life, so you can build it in your professional life. Yeah, so skill building would be part of that. And here's just a couple of examples that I'll share from what I've done in the past. I worked in learning and organizational development for a long time, and I led a team in a few different corporate settings. And for the last couple of teams I led, we would create an annual report every year. This was a way for us to show here's metrics that we're tracking, here's the value that we're bringing to the organization, here's the impact that we're having. So it was a way for us to make that performance visual. We would share it with executives, we'd share it with leaders, we would present on it. So it's a way that we paired the exposure piece with performance. And then on the left-hand side here are recommendations. So asking people for recommendations on LinkedIn is another way for you to make your performance more visible for individuals and really highlight it. If you have, again, your own business and you're on Google, asking for reviews in that space as well. So those are just a couple of examples. Now I'm going to talk about image. So your image is your brand, and it's just this, the way that we define it, it's this unique combination of skills, experiences, your personality that you project to the outer world. So it's how others perceive you professionally, personally. It encompasses your values, your expertise, the way that you communicate, interact with others. It shapes your reputation, can really differentiate you from others in your field. While performance might earn you a raise, for example, your personal brand, that's really what can project to others and set you apart for that promotion, for that next role, for that next client. It's that impression that you have on others, how you impact careers, how you impact KPIs, driving business results, contributing to the community. So it really sends a message, oftentimes even before a person has interacted with you or even spoken to you. So when you're thinking about your personal brand, reminding yourself that interactions with others, the way that you show up with others, every interaction that you have, it really matters. So when you're thinking about your own image, your own brand, it can be helpful to think about people that are public figures, individuals that you admire, not to duplicate or be what they're doing, but just for added inspiration. It can just help give you ideas of words, ways you want to exude yourself, the ways that you want to show up to others. Are there other i- individuals in the public spotlight that you love their brand, you love their image? You can go ahead and post in the chat or share out loud. I think Reese Witherspoon's another person that comes to mind for me. Any others that come to mind? Hoda.
I
So
mean,
think about this. Oh, go ahead, Anne. Yeah.
it'll be interesting how she does it. She's really changing kind of her mindset, but she still wants to have influence on people.
hmm Yeah, and that's another thing that's really great too, is watching brands and personal images evolve with people, how they shift and change. Um, Miley Cyrus is coming to mind right now. Drew Barrymore is coming to mind. Just individuals that have had strong brands over their careers and have changed. Lady Gaga have really shifted and reinvented themselves over and over again. Um, Again, just can be really helpful to have somebody in mind for inspiration. And here are some questions to help you strengthen, to help you build your personal brand. How would you describe it? What words would you use to describe your current personal brand? It's helpful to reach out to others to ask them this question too. So crowdsourcing and saying, hey, in 5 words, how would you just, what are 5 words you would use to describe my brand? And it can be hard to just come up with 5 words. So even sending people a list of 20 and saying, which 5 words do you see that really stand out to me? So crowdsourcing that, reaching out to people that you work with, that you trust, that you interact with regularly, that you really respect their opinions, that they're going to be honest with you. Those are the kind of people that can be really helpful to reach out to. Thinking about the legacy that you want to leave behind. What's the impact that I want to leave behind? What do I want people to say about me when I'm not in the room or when I'm no longer here anymore? How do I want others to describe me? I think values, understanding what your values are. I'd mentioned fun and adventure. Those are my top 2 values. That is part of my brand. When I got new headshots, when I started this business, those two values were in my head. They come naturally to me. It's very authentic to me. They're very important to me, and I infuse them in everything that I do. So those are helpful things to think about for yourself. And then what's your differentiator? What's that 5% differentiator that makes you unique, that makes you stand out? What are some things you all are doing right now for your brand? Is this a new space that you haven't really explored, something you've been working on? Oh, and Megan, I see Jennifer Aniston. Yep, another person with a very strong brand. Anyone working on this? You can also say, no, I haven't even thought about it. It certainly wasn't something I thought about 5, 6 years ago. Looking to recreate my brand? Absolutely. Anyone else doing anything? So just to give you an example of some branding stuff that I've done, your LinkedIn profile. I think LinkedIn is an amazing community for professional connections. If you're a business owner, potentially getting new clients, if you're job searching, it's a great way to look for that next role. And this is an example of my before and after headshot and banner. So I think it was summer, fall of last year, I looked at rebranding, keeping that fun adventure in mind, keeping what I focus on in mind. And I got new headshots in the outdoors because that's something that's really important to me. I chose colors that really speak to me, that speak to the values I'm focused on. And then with my banner, I reached out to someone professionally to help me with that, to help update my color scheme, to really help me craft and convey the message that I wanted to convey to my ideal client. So that is one space that you might take a look at and say, my banner, my headshot, that's the first thing, my headline, those are the first things that people see in the LinkedIn space. So when I think about my brand, when I think about words that I would use to describe myself, when I look at this visual image, when I look at my about section, does that come together? Does that align? And if not, then maybe I should change some things. Now, I hired someone professionally for my banner. You can make banners on Canva for free as well. So, yeah, I did that because I'm starting my business. It's something that I wanted to invest a little bit in, but you can create some great banners on LinkedIn. I would just say put something there because that is a virtual business card for a lot of people. And that's the first place that a lot of people look. So that's just one example. Exposure. This is the big one. So remember, performance is 10% attributed to career success, image is 30%, and then exposure is 60%. So more than half of our efforts should really be on getting more visible. This is, I don't know if it's a quote or a mantra, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That does not work when we're talking about your career. The more we see it, the more we think about it, the more we like it. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. I remember I wasn't running into, I was working with an executive. I used to work with him in a corporate setting, and then they hired me as a contractor later on. And he told me that he sees me now as a contractor than he did when I worked in the office, just because I've been posting regularly on LinkedIn. I've been making sure that I get myself in front of people. So visibility matters because that person might not have that role for you today. It might be 3 months from now. It might be 6 months from now. But if you're building that relationship, you're putting yourself out there, your accomplishments, your talents out there, when that happens, you could potentially be that first person that they think of because you've been in front of them, because you've been able to demonstrate that performance, because you've had a positive, genuine, clear, authentic image. So visibility, it's crucial. Um, it's about who knows you, has seen you in action, and can advocate for you when decisions are made. I think, Anne, you had mentioned sponsors, those individuals that shout you out, They're the ones that talk about you in the room in a good way when you're not around. Sponsorship is big. Looking for those individuals that you can champion, that can champion you, mentors, those other sponsors, advocates, that is all really important. And then I see someone just posted something in the comment. I'll come right back to that. Um, so delivering positive results, your performance is still important here. Your brand is really important here because if you're not delivering quality results, if you're inconsistent and you're getting in front of people, that's the image that they're going to see. So it's still important to create that great foundation of being an exceptional performer, having that positive image, and then consistently showing up with that positive image in front of people. And this is where your network matters. So people talk a lot about networking. I think sometimes networking can be a cringy word for some people, but it's really networking is about relationships, and relationships are everything when it comes to leveling up your career. So that's why this one is so important. Okay, I'm going to jump to the checks. I just want to make sure that I'm addressing any questions or comments. I'm in a heavily regulated industry. Company I'm partnering with has specific requirements on headshots, social media. How do I stand out when we all look the same? Absolutely. So for you, it just that might not be the path that you take when you're talking about visibility, right? That's just one path that you can take to update your brand. There just might be other avenues for maybe you focus more on the relationship piece, on the networking piece, finding mentors, finding sponsors, and less on posting on social media, less on the headshot and things like that. So I hope that helps, but we can certainly dive into that a little bit more if you have some further questions. So some things to think about when you want to get more visible. Here's some good questions to ask yourself. What activities outside of my current role am I participating in? So if I'm working within an organization, am I volunteering for committees that get me in front of people? Am I raising my hand to lead projects? Am I looking for opportunities where I can present in front of other people? Am I part of local networking groups where I can meet people from varying industries? I can meet people that work in different organizations, and we can share and we can learn from each other. Am I volunteering for boards, for community partnerships? So thinking about what am I doing outside of my role that is expanding who I'm in front of, that is expanding my network of sponsors and champions and advocates. And then who knows about my accomplishments? Is it just my leader? Does my leader even know about my accomplishments? Uh, Highlighting those types of things in your one-on-one conversations are really important. How about their leader? Does their leader know about my accomplishments? Do the senior leaders in our organizations who might be making the decision about that next position, do they know about my accomplishments? How can I get in front of them? How can I share my achievements and the impact and the value that I provide to others? And then think about who would sponsor you right now. Are there people that would advocate for you, that would champion for you, that would talk about you when you're not in the room? Are others outside of just your organization aware of your accomplishments as well? And then who are you interacting with? That's outside of your close circle that you work with the most. So if you're trying to get new clients, are you interacting with the same people regularly? Are you reaching out to create new connections with people, whether it's in the LinkedIn space, whether you're going to in-person or virtual networking events, or even tapping into your current network to see if there are good people that they can connect you with as well. So thinking about all of those things can be really helpful. I'd love to hear if what are things that you're doing to get visible? Does anyone have any strategies or techniques, things that you're currently doing to help you get in front of people?
I can share. I'm in the job search, and so I've been reaching out to people who are not in my network, but I would like to be in my network on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, playing a bit of the numbers game. And then once I have been able to connect with someone, then I ask like what organizations or groups are they a part of?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm interested, like would they invite me or could I join? And then like, is there anyone they know that they would be willing to like refer me to also learn and just as a learning opportunity. And that's been
Yeah.
really fruitful, especially reaching out to women.
Oh, I bet.
Been great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people really want to help you, even when they don't know you initially. And I would say, Margaret, adding to that, if you're not doing that already, maybe a few of those people just getting on a quick call, just a little coffee chat, a little walk and talk, just to deepen that relationship a little bit more. I've had some amazing conversations with people I've met through LinkedIn and other places. We talk for 20, 25 minutes, share resources, help each other out. And then if something comes up, I pass that along to them and vice versa. So if you're open to that, that can be another way to continue to build your network. Keeping up with people individually through chat, remembering personal details, following up, checking in on them. I actually keep a spreadsheet of individuals that I connect with, and I will add information in that spreadsheet and make notes about follow up with in 2 weeks, see how they're doing. Or this person said they're working on a project, circle back with them on this date to see how that went. That can be helpful too because we can't always remember all the things. There was somebody that reached out to me today. I had mentioned I was doing a workshop last week, and she circled back with me to check in on how that was going. And that just meant so much. It was a small thing, but it meant a lot to me that she was circling back. Also, local community, neighborhood board membership, never turning down a task from leadership, even if I don't know how to do it, figure it out and deliver. Absolutely. People love problem solvers. That is another way to get visible is look for those challenges, look for the problems and help solve them, even if it's not necessarily within your scope of work, or point out who can solve the problem for them. I love it when I email somebody a question, they don't have the answer, but they directly connect me with the person. So they'll CC me on an email and say, hey, this person has this problem, so I don't have to repeat myself. I know you have expertise in this area. Can you connect with that individual? And then, hey, if you need anything else, let me know. That one step, instead of just responding back and saying, oh, no, I can't help you with that, but you could probably just reach out to this person. It's a small thing, but that additional support, I remember that. And that becomes part of my brand for that individual is they're supportive. They're a very helpful individual. Oh, yes. And if you all want to connect on LinkedIn, please go ahead and post those in the chat. That's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that, Megan. I'll just give you a few ideas of things that have been helpful for me to be visible. One of the things that I started doing a few years ago, I was still in corporate. I knew that I wanted to go out on my own. I started applying for conferences just to get up in front of people, put myself out there, grow my network, get more visible. So I did that for about 3 years, applying to different conferences and speaking events just to get myself in front of people. So that's one strategy that was helpful in being visible. Posting on LinkedIn, I started doing it 1 day a week all that I could manage with a full-time job and two little munchkins running around. So I did that. And then I increased it to Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then I increased it to 3 days a week. And now I post Monday through Friday regularly. The way that I frame it is this is my walk around the office. I'm virtual most of the time. So this is my chance to put myself out there, develop relationships with people, comment on their posts, engage with them, find new connections, connect with people in direct messaging. So posting regularly on LinkedIn is another way to get yourself out there or even just engaging with people either through direct messaging, like Margaret said, reaching out to people that I want to connect with. I'm interested in learning more about their organization, maybe they're local, writing articles, writing blog posts, guesting on a variety of different podcasts. So those are, and even hosting my own workshops, free workshops for people as well. Those have been some different strategies for me to just get in front of people. So I'm going to take a pause there. I just shared a little bit of strategies here and there around these. I want to give you all a chance to share a little bit more as well, knowing that we've all probably done something in each of these areas over time in our careers. And I just would love to be able to focus on that collective knowledge that's in the room. But before I do that, I just want to see if there's any questions so far about anything that I've shared.
I don't have a question. I just love that you mentioned conferences because I don't know why I just have not been thinking about that.
Mm.
So that's something that I definitely need to look into.
So what I'm sharing with the group is a Google Doc, and it's a very simple doc that you'll all be able to access. And there's 3 pages. One is dedicated to performance, one is image, and one is exposure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break you out into 3 smaller groups, and you all are going to brainstorm in those groups. What are some different things that I could do, we could come up with to level up our performance? What could we do to strengthen, enhance, or even build our brand? What's a next step? What's an action? What's a strategy we could take? And then same with exposure. So I'm going to assign you each to one of these groups, and then you'll just scroll to that part of the Google Doc to be able to start brainstorming some ideas. We'll do 6 minutes for the rooms. And again, you can just type directly on the document. Any questions before I send you off? All right, go for it. Okay, so for the performance group, just highlighting a few things that they shared. Goal setting, yes, having an end in mind of where you want to go, I think is really important. Picking a skill to work on, constant skill development in general, whether that's working with a coach, reading, participating in workshops like these is really important. Celebrating your wins, sharing them with others. Um, I love this idea, identifying someone who's performing at the level that you want to be and meeting with them, developing a relationship, having them give you some tips for success, uh, prioritization, making sure you have the time to work on elevating your performance in the image and exposure. Always willing to learn. Growth mindset. I think leaning into a growth mindset is important here, knowing where you want to go. Having a personal branding statement, so jumping to image, can be really helpful. Um, and then for exposure, it looks like some of the ideas are to create genuine connections, volunteer for speaking engagements, reaching out to senior leadership and not being afraid to introduce yourself, maybe even reaching out to for potential mentorship too. If you don't have a formal mentor program, reaching out to people to see if they'll informally mentor you can be helpful. Either in person or virtual connections. Investing in common interest groups can be really helpful as well. So these are great. Again, I'll add to this. And I'm going to share with you just a few other tips for each of these that can be really helpful. Something that I have found very helpful as a strategy when we're talking about performance is tapping into your strengths and identifying them. So whether you do this by that crowdsourcing effort that I'd mentioned, where you reach out to people, what are words that you would use to describe me? You could also say, what are my strengths? Where do you see me making an impact? What value am I providing? So asking people what they think that your strengths are, going out and using an assessment tool. I like Clifton Strengths. There's some other great tools that are out there as well that have been really helpful in just articulating what is the talent that you have, what's the value impact that you have. Because sometimes we know what it is, but it's just hard to find the right words for it. So recognizing our strengths, how can we identifying them and then figuring out how do I leverage them more? How do I incorporate them more? How do they help me figure out my next role? And then feedback is so important. And when I say feedback, it's more than just how am I doing? Or do you have any feedback for me? It's being very specific and saying, hey, I have a presentation coming up. Would you mind watching and giving me feedback on what I did well, what you think I could do to improve? Or when I was a leader, I would ask very specific questions every year in the annual report, the annual reviews. What's a time where you felt really supported by me? And then where is a time that maybe I missed the mark and I didn't support you as much as I should have? And sometimes I'll give people hey, this is where I think I might have missed the mark. What do you think? Just to give them permission to be able to validate my thoughts around that. So being very specific around feedback, asking for a variety of people to provide it for you on a regular basis. Learning. So results are really important. Highlighting results, knowing what the results you want, those goals that you mentioned are really important. And then taking calculated risks, putting yourself out there, stepping out of your comfort zone, experimenting with doing some different things, leaning into a growth mindset are all really helpful for elevating performance. When it comes to image, here are some things that can be really helpful. Your character, this is the reflection of your values, your passions, your morals, how you act, how you present yourself. I think understanding what your values are can be very helpful. Brene Brown has an exercise where you identify your top two values. That's where I came up with fun and adventure. I think that that's something a really helpful exercise in helping you to build your brand. I also think creating a personal mission statement. This is something that I started doing about a decade ago, and I check in on my personal mission statement every year. Something that's evolved over time. It's something easy. My mission statement is to awaken passion, joy, and adventure in other people's professional and personal lives. That's something that energizes me and I create my brand around it. So coming up with your own statement can be very helpful. Being consistent. So showing up authentically, delivering consistently good results that align with your brand, paying attention to the details, those all matter here. So reliability, even in your writing, how you show up in writing emails, writing posts on LinkedIn, if that's something that you end up doing, that is all, it's the full package. And then for exposure, just to add a few things to the list that you've already created, volunteering for different opportunities. So, not just joining networking groups, but actually volunteering to participate in different activities. There's another group that I'm part of that's focused on the learning and development industry. And last year, I volunteered to be part of a committee that ran the first local conference for the group. So I participated in that. I volunteered to speak at the conference. And then this year, I volunteered to be the president elect for their board. So if you can volunteer to be part of their board, it's another opportunity to get in front of people and to nurture and create some very lovely, genuine relationships. And then authenticity, I mentioned already, but being genuine, being genuinely who you are is so important here. The brand that I put out in the world, how I show up, that's the same that I show up at home in my personal life with other relationships as well. So that's really an important piece to all of this. And with networking, I know that's not everybody's favorite thing to do. I'm extroverted, so I love meeting new people. I love being in person. I love being virtual, but I know that's not everyone's favorite thing to do. I have a friend who's much more introverted, and I am her networking buddy. We pair up when we go to events together because I'll go up and say hello to people that I don't know and we'll start the conversation. And then it pulls her into the conversation as well. So that could be one way is having a networking buddy if it's not your favorite thing to do, or focus on one-to-one relationships. Reach out to those individuals through LinkedIn and just ask if they'd be up for a coffee chat virtually or even a walk and talk where you get on the phone and you walk outside. I've done a lot of those, which has been really great. And it's much less intimidating, I think, than some of these bigger events in person where there's a lot of new people. So those are just a few ways to add to what you've already shared to help you in that space. And I'm going to pause here because I just remembered, Carrie, you'd mentioned a photo, and I think you'd stepped away when we tried to do this before. Are you there now?
Looks like she's not.
She's not. Okay. So with that, I just want to share that it's not so much what you do, but it's who knows counts. So again, don't cut too much up in the percentages of this. Just recognize that we need to be putting more effort into getting out there in front of people and to our personal brand, how we show up. It doesn't matter if you have your own business, it doesn't matter if you're a leader, if you're working in corporate as an individual contributor. These are all things that we need to constantly be working on to help us get to that next stage of our career. So, with that, I hope that you have come up with an action item, a strategy that you can put into practice as soon as tomorrow if you want. I also recognize that when people attend these types of things, if they don't go back to their notes, if they don't go back to their material, they forget most everything. So, one of the things that I offer is I will send out some follow-up action items to you. It's just a weekly email with very specific, tangible tips of here's how you can implement what I shared with you. So I'll send that out to you automatically over the next several weeks. So you have some specific actions that you can put into place. And then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. Put my email up there as well in case you want to talk through any of these more specifically. I'm happy to help. And with that, I'm going to open it up to any questions that individuals might have. Anything that I went over. I leave you with this quote. I will also stay on the line if anyone has any additional questions, but be so good they can't ignore you. And with that, I really appreciate everyone's time and engagement today. I will just open it up if anyone has any final questions or strategies, thoughts that they want to share.
I don't have any questions, but I just feel like you've left me with like I need to like sit down and process with my journal. Like, what do I want to, like so many actionable things, like you said, was your goal to going into this for us. And I think you accomplished that really well. So
Oh, thank
I
you,
might have
Margaret.
questions later, but I just like am
Okay,
trying to keep it all in my head.
absolutely. And I recorded this, so I'll send you all the recording if you want to refer back to anything. And like I mentioned, I'll add a few more things to the Google Doc that you all already built, and I'll send that out as a follow-up tomorrow. And then, of course, you can always reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Good to see you all.